Hello, it is another recipe drop time. I'm Dr. Sam Graber and welcome to our channel. This is a special project where I'm taking recipes that we all know and love and giving them a low carb twist. Today, one of my faves, and for the whole month of October, we're going to be doing recipes that are all soups or chilies, things that, it's finally getting to be sweater weather, so we can get a little bit, little warmer inside. Anywho, looking forward to sharing this one with you. Taco soup. If you would like to get a copy of the recipe, down in the description, there's a link that takes you to our recipe share. As of right now, we're aiming to do two, not one, but two of these videos every week. So you'll get one of those fresh in your email, depending what day. Aiming for Tuesdays and Fridays. Don't quote me on that, okay? Looking forward to sharing this with you. I would love to hear what you think as you make it. What I find is this is one of our go-tos, and many of my clients, they love it because you can make it ahead. And in all honesty, a day or two after making it, it's almost like all the nourishment and all the flavors just really gel just right. This is also something you can freeze so that for those days that maybe you're like, I forgot to make dinner or I didn't prep ahead, it's a really easy reheat. Plus, you'll see today, it really doesn't take too long. All right, so let's get ourselves started. I'm gonna start with a decent sized pot. If you, this also doubles very easily. So if you want to make a double batch, just grab, maybe your bigger pot like that you do your boils in. Alrighty, so we're gonna get this guy started. Gonna melt a little bit of bacon grease because bacon. Bacon grease in here, and then we're gonna put our onions in. So I'm gonna do about a tablespoon. You'll notice I don't do a whole lot of exact and precise measurements because I don't like to. But now if I'm going to be baking, I'm gonna get a little more precision going. So I've got just a basic white onion, and we've been just working off this same onion for a while, so this is partly chopped up. We're going to chop the rest. And I want them diced like a decent size so that when you eat it, you know you're eating an onion. Okay, we're going to do about a half a cup of this. And I really like to try to get as much of these items that I can out of any piece. The rest of that will go into our compost pile. All right. So I hope y'all are excited as much as I am, or as excited as I am about fall and soup weather. All right, let's get these in here. Now we live in Florida, and you're gonna think, who has fall weather in Florida? We're in the panhandle of Florida, so we actually get some seasons. I'm gonna add a little more of this guy. I think you should always have a good helping of bacon grease so that you can utilize this for cooking veg, leaner meats. Now, if you are opposed to bacon grease because of some preference or your religion, use tallow if you're cool with eating beef products. All right, so I'm gonna keep going here. And good. Okay, mix those guys up a little, make sure we've got them separated decently. Okay. All right, we'll be back to chop one more thing, the scallions or the green onions, in just a moment. So, all right, I've got my meat masher because this really helps for the ground meat that we're going to put in just a moment. Let me let that get translucent, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, so here we have our meats, and we are using mild Italian sausage and ground beef. You can use really any ground meat. I just find the heartier is really yummy. A great way to do this is with ground venison if you have access to that, or any other game, and then utilizing the this Italian sausage gives it a little more fat. And you can always add a little more bacon grease. You can use even the trimmings from steak, any sort of fatty meats. That's another great way to make sure you have good fats. All right, that's getting nice and translucent. So we are going to switch into meat meshing mode. Yeah, let's bring that in here. I'm going to start with this Italian sausage. And any bulk Italian sausage will do. If where you're shopping doesn't have this in bulk, just buy it in the casings or in the sausages, and then you just rip those open and squeeze them out. Kind of fun. All right, get this in here. Keep in mind, I have had to tell people this before, so I'm going to tell you now. There's always usually a paper on here. There might even be a couple, like this one has some extra paper on. Sometimes there's this absorbent kind of paper deal. I don't know what it's called, but just be sure you get that off because it'll be really, really bad in your taco soup. And then we buy a big thing of ground beef and then just section it up. Normally, of course, like I've mentioned before, I really don't like to use things in plastic, but I will tell you, like, if you cool things down and then put them in plastic, they're not, at least I don't think they're going to absorb or leach in as much of the microplastics. So this has never been heated. We're gonna just kind of spot little bits in at a time. All right, there we go. All right. So using a little meat masher from Pampered Chef, because I like this little dude. We're gonna get everything mixed up and browned just right. You don't want to overcook it yet because it's still gonna have plenty of time to be cooking within your soup, but we want to get mixed up. You can also add some garlic if you want. You could have done the garlic and the onions. Sometimes I feel like doing that, sometimes I don't. If I have fresh garlic, great. If not, you can always use garlic powder as well. Just depends how you like the flavor. And I'm going to be making this rather mild because each one of us in the house likes a little different of the spice. But you can always add more, whether it be chili flakes, a chili sauce, some sort of god-awful hot thing that burns up your face. I don't know how people think they can taste things. Apparently they like the pain in their face. So if you like that, well, by all means do it. But do me a favor, taste this before you go doing all that so I can know that you know what it's supposed to actually taste like. Alrighty. Now sometimes stuff gets stuck in there, so I'm going to grab a fork. The cleanup crew is here. My sous chef, that super lazy sous chef, doesn't do anything, but she keeps it cute. Right, Belle? Yeah. Oh, and she protects me against all change of wind direction, a male guy or gal, delivery person, neighbors, you know, typical dangers of life. Okay. So probably the longest activity here is just getting the meat cooked. But if you're like one of my meal prepping stars, you can do you can pre-brown a lot of your meats ahead of time, like do a prep day, whether that be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever day you choose. By pre-browning the meats, it just saves you a step when it goes to time to cooking. All right, let this keep going. Okay, back in another moment. So you'll see on this camera here that you can just kind of rotate this and get everything mixed in decently. Want to get all that red out, or the pink out of the meat, so that at least we know it's cooked. Okay, so while I'm waiting for the meat to be browning, I'm going to go ahead and cut up and wash. First wash, then cut up some scallions. I use these as garnish for this particular recipe. Other really good garnishes are cheddar cheese and or a little bit of sour cream, depending on where you are with your fats for the day and if you're doing dairy or not. If you're not doing dairy, I guess you wouldn't want cream cheese, so keep that in mind. And I've mentioned this on previous recordings, but when I have the scallion or the green onion, I peel off some of these layers just to make it, because I feel like there's kind of dirt and stuff under there. So I'm gonna do that on all three of these. And a little tip here, if you want to regrow your scallions or your green onions, you just chop it about 1 inch down, and then you have all this that will you put them in a pot, put them in some water even, and they'll grow. So kind of hydroponically. Kind of a fun little fact. All right, be right back. Okay. So I am going to choose to cut these off about 1.5 inches down, and I'm gonna put them in a little water. Let's see. So we've got this little sauce deal. Fill that up about halfway with water, and then within another video or two, we'll have some deeper roots, and we can start growing our own. So I'm gonna get fancy here and go on the bias or a diagonal. And we'll just have this ready for after. Check our meat. All right, we're getting close to these gals being all nice and cooked. Okay. Okay, so you can see how that's looking a lot better. Mostly brown, still a little bit of pink, but no raw. And that is what we want to make sure we have accomplished. There we go. Okay, so at this stage, I'm going to put in the full brick of the cream cheese, and you can use any variety. I don't recommend the low fat because ew. There's also something called Newfoundland cheese, which is very similar in texture to the cream cheese, just like the traditional regular kind. We're going regular today. Put this in. You can just kind of peel this all away. And so you just place that right in there. And then I'll just kind of cover it up with the meat and then break that up a bit. I don't drain the meat because we're going to want all these juices. We'll be adding in chicken stock. You can also add beef stock if you want, any kind you like. And this just helps us get creamier and mixed up real nicely. That is fine, mostly by covering it up with the meat. It just heats it up real well. All right. This can be something you make at lunchtime to have for dinner, so it has time to get all those flavors melded. Or as I mentioned, you can do it ahead of time, like on a weekend, or even make a batch at one point. And then when you get kind of sick of it, freeze it up. And then when you're ready to eat it again, thaw it out the night before or possibly the morning of, and heat that baby up, and you will have some wonderful soup to end your day. It has a really heaping helping of protein and decent fats. So this is one of my favorites. And like I mentioned, my clients always love it too. It's fun. Okay, so you can see how that's starting to mix up nicely. Okay, at this point, I'm going to put in our taco seasoning. All right, so we're going to measure out our own taco seasoning. Doesn't have to be super precise. If you like it a little extra seasoned, by all means, go for it. Oops. Here we go. I'm going to add a little more just for goodness. Okay. I'm going to turn this down because I don't want it to be boiling much like that now that we've got the dairy in there, and it's not necessary. Alrighty. So let this go. Mix it together. Okay, let that keep melding. And now I'm going to open up our rotel. I like the fire roasted. I just find it's a little tastier. We have 2 of the fire roasted and 1 of the regular on tap today. And I pour it in with the juices. Okay, so you have that good liquid. So that's what it looks like inside there. You pour 3 of those in. Because I'd rather use that flavor than just a stock or a chicken stock broth. We're just going to mix that in and let it sit for maybe 10-15 minutes. Oops, got a little extras there. Okay, stir that in together nicely. Get everyone in the same pool. Look at that. Man, that looks good. You can really add the broth to desired consistency. If you want it to be more hearty like a chili, by all means, you're pretty much ready to roll. But if you want it to be a little more like a soup, then you can add your chicken broth or chicken stock. I'm gonna give that a little time to go to work. Just gonna cover her up so we keep all the moisture in, and I'll see you back in a few moments. All right, so we've let this boil for a while. We're going to just check her out, get her stirred up. All right, I can probably use a different type of spoon now that I'm done mashing this. Be right back. To minimize the amount of dishes and the aftermath, I'm just gonna use a ladle now because we will serve it with this scowl. Okay, oh, that's looking good and it's smelling amazing. Like I say, we all have different spice tolerances, so I'm gonna leave it as is because I'm kind of the wimpy one. The others like it a little spicier, but as mentioned, they can always add more. I'm gonna leave it with this consistency just one more bit, then we're going to add 2 cups of our chicken broth. If you're like us, you always have one opened in your fridge, and then sometimes you open another one and have 2. So I double checked, and we already have one ready to roll. Let me pour that out here first. There we go. Got our 2 cups. Let's see. Excuse me, Belle. Okay, I mean, this is literally how easy it is. The longest part is just browning that beef, or the beef and the sausage. But as mentioned, if you are an ahead of time thinker and planner and meal planner, you can really save your time at the time of making it, if you so choose, by meal prepping. We're gonna add this in, and this was cold, so we're gonna let it get back up to a nice heat. And then we'll be ready to serve this. Okay, mix you. There we go. So you can see a little bit of difference. Makes it between a chili and a soup. It just helps it go longer or last longer. Okay, now back to where I was. I like the fresh element of the scallions on top of the taco soup. Then I'll just cut them all ahead of time and put them in just a little container. We're trying to switch over to glass containers just because of, you know, microplastics. They're in everything, so if we can avoid them at all possible, if that's at all possible, I'm gonna do my best. And then we've got our cheddar cheese, and then I'll get out some sour cream when I'm serving this up. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, now for the magic moment. We're gonna give it a good stir. It's got some nice steam coming off it. So I'm gonna stick with just the 2 added cups of the broth. And like I mentioned, you don't even need to add any broth if you like it to be a little heartier. And the neat thing is today we're gonna put it away. We're gonna let it cool down first, then put it in a container. And then when you thaw it out, if you freeze it or if you just have it in the fridge, you can always add more of the chicken stock or beef stock if you'd like. You have lots of options here. And another fun thing, if you need to get a little more roughage and more fiber in your diet, do some riced cauliflower, season that up, warm it, add a little garlic to it, warm it up, and then use that as a base, and then pour your taco soup over it. Very good. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna do 2 good sized ladles. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do 3 because it's kind of a small ladle. I don't know how many ounces it is. Put that right there. And let me doctor this up and we'll be right back with you. But we've got this. Here's our without anything doctored and added to it. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of the cheese. And just a reminder, we try to grate our own cheese so that it doesn't have that funky stuff that they add to already shredded cheese. And if you're trying to do a lower carb way of living and way of eating, it's probably best to avoid those. But if you wear a CGM, which I'm not wearing mine right now, but if you wear one of those, that'll help you know if that stuff spikes your blood glucose or not. I'm gonna squeeze a little of this guy on here. Make that fun. And then add some of our freshly diced scallions. And voila. Hoping you can see that. It looks pretty good. I can't turn it much more or I will be wearing it, or someone will be wearing it. Here we go. Be sure to please like our this video and subscribe to our channel. We're just getting this project going. It's really fun. If you would like to, like I mentioned, get the actual recipe, something that you can print out for yourself. If you're old school like me and like to do that, you can opt in for that very easily. There will be a link in the description. Just click on that. You only have to opt in once if you're already in our ecosystem. Then you'll get this each week. And like I mentioned, we're trying to do 2 a week now because it's really quite fun. All right, and now for the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's see how good this is. I'm gonna mix it up a little and take our taste. That is really good. I know I say that every time, but it actually really is. And I think the big difference is using the fire roasted of the Rotel. That makes all the difference in the world. All right, until next time, take good care of yourselves and each other. Bye for now. All right, so now for the good go or not so great. Wait, I'm gonna start over. I don't like that. All right, and now, whoops. Dang it.